The MLB is trying to take out the Los Angeles Dodgers by nerfing them in this upcoming new CBA, and owners apparently are furious with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Why? We give you the updates here today on Dodgers Digest. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show and hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you might be. Now, this, of course, is no surprise that people are frustrated at the Los Angeles Dodgers. They've been frustrated for a while with how good and how well we use our organizational powers. Now, that being said, this is the first cold, hard evidence we have had to owners and GMs and even executives of the MLB considering figuring out a way to limit the Dodgers' potential. Now, next year there will be a new CBA signed, and it seems as though the owners are going to be vying for a salary cap is what the new report has. If we look at the payroll here for the 2026 MLB season, we can see LA is far and above any other team, but they're not as above as many people might think. Like, yes, them and the Mets are way and above the rest of the field, but the Mets are right there. I mean, they're only about $70 million off, which I know it doesn't, that seems like a lot, but in terms of payroll, it's actually not a crazy amount. And when you think about it, that's one player. That's just Kyle Tucker in terms of the Dodgers standpoint. But however that sounds for the Dodgers, doesn't matter because next year there will be a new agreement in the CBA, and well, teams are going to vie for, let's say, some strangleholds on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, before we get into the rest of today's show, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. If you download Kalshi using the link in the description and use code DIGESTMLB, you're going to get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, news, even the weather. Now, whether you are in California like the Dodgers, Texas, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is now live in all 50 states. For sports fans, trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market in which you can cash out at any time. The Los Angeles Rams are in the NFC Championship right now. You can trade on Kalshi with a 42% chance for the Rams. A $100 trade gets you $239, on top of which you can also trade on an anytime touchdown for Jackson Smith-Njigba, Puka Nacua, or even Kyren Williams. It's genuinely the smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Again, download Kalshi using the link in the description, and don't forget to use this code DIGESTMLB to get your $20 bonus. So what are the new advancements in these owners being quote-unquote furious? Well, Dodgers Tailgate had it on X, saying according to Evan Drellich of The Athletic, MLB owners are quote-unquote raging over Kyle Tucker's agreement with the Dodgers, making a push for league-wide salary cap, a 100% certainty. Now, salary cap is an absolute horrible idea for Major League Baseball, in my opinion. Here's the official quote from the article. Again, The Athletic's Evan Drellich saying, owners are raging in the way of Kyle Tucker's free agency agreement with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it is now a 100% certainty that the owners will push for a salary cap, end quote. You want to push for it, fine. But it's not just the owners of the Dodgers, the fans of the Dodgers that don't want a salary cap. Bryce Harper had a very big disagreement with Rob Manfred. He came into the clubhouse and wanted to talk about a potential salary cap, and you can see on the screen what Bryce Harper said to Mr. Manfred. Now, the funny thing about this is I was making this video and looking more into the MLB salary cap. There is some positives to it because it would help the lower part of the players, and if you adapt what the NBA has, where you have to have a salary floor with a salary cap, then a lot of players in the MLB are going to be paid more, which stinks in some aspects for those players, but it's also going to be more of a driving force in this upcoming new CBA agreement to try and push for that quote-unquote salary cap. But the thing that comes with it is the salary floor. Because if you don't add the salary floor with the salary cap, then it doesn't gain anything for the players in Pittsburgh that are getting underpaid simply because the owner knows he can. Or the players who are not a part of the top 5 or 10% of MLB players making most of the money. That's kind of how it's an interesting position put out. And, they'll have until December 1st of 2026 to come to an agreement. Now, that's just a date that we have. It's not the hard set date because that's when the current labor agreement expires. In that situation, they could easily have an agreement before that made. However, that seems to be incredibly unlikely, which means December 2nd, there will officially be an MLB lockout for the second time in the past 5 years now. I hope that this does not go into something more crazier than last time. If you all remember the 2022 season starting about a week late, the press conferences between Rob Manfred and the head of the MLB Players Association just trying to figure out the best way to go ahead with baseball. But if the owners are trying to force a salary cap, that is going to inhibit the Dodgers because, well, they are going to be above the salary cap. Now, that is something that I don't know how the rules would work in terms of grandfathering him in. But the bad part about this for the Dodgers is that it's not just the Dodgers who are saying like, oh, we don't want a salary cap. It'd be one thing if it was them and some other teams. But the Yankees, who have a decently high payroll, I mean, we go here, they're 5th on the list, yet their owner, Hal Steinbrenner, said that he recently downplayed his franchise's profit margins and spoke out in favor of a salary cap. Now, Steinbrenner, who presidents over one of the most powerful sports franchises in the world, sounds open to one. Imagine how strongly his counterparts in markets such as Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and Tampa feel, end quote. There's going to be a push for a salary cap. I think that is pretty simple at this point to understand. I don't know if it's going to happen. Just because you are going to get players like Bryce Harper who are going to push back. Players like the top echelon of the community who are going to push back. That's going to be hard for a couple of different players to digest that their salaries might get cut. Now, again, how does that work? Do they get grandfathered in? Because right now, it's a luxury tax rule. And you can see here the luxury tax rules. In 2026, you break over the tax barrier, which is $244 million. You are going to get a tax, you're going to get a competitive balance tax. However, there is a caveat because as you do it in consecutive years, that tax balance gets worse and worse. They're 20% on all tax overages in the first year, 30% in the second year, and 50% in the third year, which the Dodgers, of course, are in their third year now. If you look past that, though, you can also see that there is also a surcharge for thresholds for clubs that exceed it by $20 million more, which are also the Dodgers. And if you go $60 million or more, which is what the Dodgers are at, there's a 60% surcharge. So the Dodgers are paying a absolute crap ton in taxes right now, but it's not really inhibiting them. Simply because they're a well-run organization. And I want to make this very clear when I say the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Mets, heck, even the Cubs, and I think the Pirates could be this way if they spent their money right and actually wanted to get fans into their ballpark. PNC is beautiful, and no one goes because the team doesn't care about winning. You have Paul Skeens in your team, and you sell out once every 5 days, but it doesn't matter the rest of the 4 because you're not winning. Even when Paul Skeens pitches, you're not winning. If you spend the money a little bit and prioritize marketing, building your team, saying we're going to be going for this, it's going to make the fans care more. The Dodgers, they sell out every time. You know why? Because we know that the owner, the GM, we know that Gomes cares. We know that Andrew Friedman cares. They want to win. They want to be the best. And if you're a fan, don't you want to be a part of the best? Don't you want to go to games knowing your team cares about you? And yet there are teams that even at the top of the league don't care. The Red Sox, until they signed Ranger Suarez, had spent $0 this offseason. You think that's going to want to make fans go to Fenway Park as much? Fenway Park is now the sold because it's Fenway Park. Their owner even said that. I might be biased in this take because I've loved baseball ever since I was a kid. But baseball is one of the most fun sports to attend. In fact, I would argue it's the best sport to watch in person because it's an experience. but you have to sell the experience alongside the game and the players who are on your team. And owners aren't doing that. And so I know this is kind of getting into an MLB level problem, but the Dodgers are just a mold of something that every single MLB franchise could do. And they choose not to. Now, they don't have a lot of money. I get it. The Dodgers are a very rich organization. I'm not saying Tampa can do this. But in that case scenario, instead of having a salary cap, the MLB should prioritize marketing more. The MLB should prioritize getting things out there. Maybe make the tax threshold very, very hard to break and put a salary cap floor in. That's the bigger thing to me. Maybe I'm wrong in that take, and I know there's a lot of people who are going to say that I am wrong, but that's what we're going to be getting to here soon enough because it's a lot of he says, she says. Now, do want to point out that they did have a lockout last time this happened. Alvin Gonzalez, the 2022 Major League Baseball season was originally scheduled to begin on March 31st and in October 2nd, and the 2021-2022 lockout caused the season to be delayed 1 week starting on April 7th, and the regular season ended on October 5th. I could easily see the MLB having another lockout. So I asked the question, will there be an MLB lockout in 2027? If you think so, type Y for yes. If you think not, type in for no. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Y for yes, in for no. Will there be an MLB lockout in 2027? I think that's all we got for you here today on the show. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to my rant a little bit. But for now, guys, we appreciate you. See you next time on the show. Peace out.